Hey y'all, so I started this video a couple days before Christmas, and now I'm finishing it a couple days after Christmas. Had to take a little bit of break, had a lot of family things going on, of course, just like everybody else, but gonna get this one wrapped up. Well, we're gonna start taking a peek under the car here and see how everything's held up over the last driving season. I've not been under here yet, so we're gonna look at everything together. And like I said in an earlier video, a couple of things I'm going to do on my winter projects is look for an exhaust leak that I think is coming from where the H pipe connects up to the axle back. I don't know if it's driver's side or passenger side, but we're going to check that out. And then we're going to look at the emergency brake cable and see if I need to adjust it, because it feels like it's not wanting to hold very tight even when I pull the handle up as far as I can inside. So it's adjustable, and underneath here we're going to take a look at that. And then really in general we're just going to look at everything, look for leaks, look at harnesses, look for any rubs or anything like that. Probably going to grease some of the fittings under here on my suspension eventually, and make sure they're packed full. And yeah, I'll just pop in here whenever I see something that I want to show you or talk about. Well, it does look like I got some type of a leak and some water coming through that joint. So this is the driver's side connection from the H pipe to the axle back. Okay, well, it was fairly loose. I got quite a few turns on both of these bolts, but when I tried to tighten up the passenger, they didn't really budge much. So definitely this side was looser than the other. Now you can see here, I've still got some adjustability I can do on the emergency brake cable to tighten it up, but I'm gonna have to be able to get to these nuts and break them loose, and I may have to get this drive shaft out of here to do all that. Alright, if you look on the drive shaft up here, you can see a little shiny band, and that's definitely just barely been rubbing on the emergency brake threaded part there. That gives me more proof that it's a little too loose. Looking up towards the transmission, looking around the speedometer cable sensor, the speed sensor, I don't see anything leaking there. Looking at the tail shaft, I don't see any issues there. Okay, looking at the gas tank, straps look fine. Harness back here to the sender and fuel pump looks fine. It's not hanging down or out of place. Fuel lines, no signs of leaks there. Looking at the bottom of the diff cover, it's dry. So I've got some fittings up there that I'll have to grease on the upper control arms. I got some fittings on the lower control arms that I'll have to grease. I noticed that the driver's side exhaust is hitting up against the frame up here, and so I followed it back, and I see this grommet. It's not through the grommet all the way, so try to push that through. So now I've got the the hook through the rubber grommet back here. And that gave me quite a bit of space now to the frame rail. So hopefully that takes care of that. Where the brake line connects to the hard line, looks perfectly fine and dry there. Well, continuing on towards the front, you can see the oil pressure or oil level sender. Looks good. Drain plugs are good. Looking up towards the steering shaft, everything looks fine up there. Freeze plugs, you see a few of them, no evidence of any leaks up there. Oh, I gotta get this situated a little better. Well, I've been under here a little while longer, but now I'm kind of facing towards the back instead of facing towards the front of the car, and I'm here kind of on the other side of the speed sensor cable and speed sensor and all that on the transmission, and I started noticing that it did look a little grimy on the transmission mount, and right along here it looked a little greasy, oily, and so I was trying to figure out why it looked oily. And I've been staring for a while, and if you haven't noticed already, my speed sensor cable is almost completely out of the sensor, and the little clip is kind of hanging out. The funny thing is, I've never had an issue with my speedometer not working, so it must just be barely engaged to spin, but that's definitely not seated in all the way, and that's what's letting a little bit, it looks like a little bit of oil, transmission fluids coming out of there, and over time it's just been dirtying up everything around here. So never enough to leave drips anywhere. There's no actual like leaks that you can see, but just everything looks oily and dirty, and I just kept following up trying to find the spot, and that's when I found that cable. So something else to get taken care of. All right, well, that took a little while. These things are never fun and they're never easy to get to, but what I found was there was 2 of these O-rings in there instead of 1, and that's probably what kept it from snapping in all the way, or I must have thought I got it snapped in and then I didn't. So these little clips, you gotta put the clip in first before you push the cable in, and the way I get that cable pushed up in there and seated is I get a couple real long screwdrivers and I get it up under the metal collar on that cable, and get one on each side with both hands and just push up until I hear the click. It took me 2 or 3 attempts, but I got it in there. So I'll wipe everything down real good now, and we'll have to check it later in the spring, see if that's still leaking or not. And everything's all cleaned up. Well, got some new grease here. Some marine grease. I think I read in the Maximum Motorsport paperwork back when I installed the control arms that this is what they suggested or recommended. So I'll get this loaded up and then we'll get some fittings greased up. We're good. It helps if you take the old tube out before you try to put the new tube in. Little brain fart there, but it didn't take me too long to figure it out. So let's get back under the car and check some of these fittings. Well, let's try some of these new Fan Dandy rubber gloves with built-in textured grip. Since I'm going to be using grease, everything's going to get slippery. They didn't have 2X like I normally get, so let's see if I can get these on without ripping them apart. All right. Oh yeah, pretty good. I've never seen them before. I don't know if they're really new, but new for me anyway. These 7mm disposable with this grip molded into them. All right, we'll start on the passenger side rear of the lower control arm. These are Maximum Motorsports lower control arms with the adjustable spring perch. I think maybe they're called the weight jacker. So I'm going to wipe off this grease nipple here. Okay, I got it screwed down there. It'll take a few pumps to get it primed since I just put a new cartridge in. And I'm just looking for some signs of it coming out. All right, I can see all this moving and expanding, so I'm gonna say that's good. This is where the grip comes in handy. I've got another nipple right here for the spring perch, so I'm gonna hit that one next. Get this wiped off. That one's got a lot of resistance, and I can see it starting to squeeze out, so that one is good. And finally, we've got one at the front there for the lower control arm on the front. We'll do the same thing for that. All right. And we'll do the same thing on the driver's side. And when it comes to the upper control arms on the rear end, I have some BMR. They're non-adjustable, but you can see right here, I do have a fitting up here on the end that attaches to the body. And I'll hit that one. The one down here, I'm going to my factory style. It's a new bushing I pressed in, but it's a factory style on the rear end itself, and there's no grease fitting for that. All right, well, that fitting was pointed in an angle that I couldn't get the pump on there because I don't have a flexible nozzle. So what I've done is I've taken a wrench, a 3/8 wrench, and I've tightened it a little more. I can only turn it, I don't know, about 10 degrees or so to make sure I don't strip it out, but it moved pretty easily, so it might have been a little loose to begin with. So I'm going to try to get the tool on it now, and if that doesn't work, I'll have to get a flexible hose adapter to put on the end of my grease gun. All right, that worked. Got it in there. It took about 4 squeezes before I saw some coming out on the edges. So all of these have been, about three to 4 pumps, and we're done now with the back passenger side. So I'll do everything again on the driver's side, and then. All right, everything's greased, everything's cleaned up, wiped down. I'm actually thinking a new winter project, that cover for the fuel filters, and I'm going to take it off, clean that grimy thing up, and repaint it and put it back up there. Hopefully it's fine. I'd rather keep this one than buy a new one, but we'll get it out of there sometime this winter. We've got plenty of time to add a few more winter projects, I guess. But yeah, one thing I forgot to mention, once you're done greasing everything, wipe those nipples back off so they don't pick up a whole bunch of road grime when you're driving it. And if you saw those when I first started in this video, you'll notice they were pretty nasty, so I must have forgot to do that the last time. It's been a couple years, but wipe those off, and then they'll stay really clean for the next time. And now we're finally to the front of the car. We're just gonna take a look around here. You know, obviously the drain plugs are good. The front main seal, no signs of leaks there. Water pump, I don't see any signs of drips down around the harmonic balancer or pulleys or anything like that. The belt is new from this year. I don't see any weird wear on the edges of it. It's just dirty. Obviously, I'm going to wipe it all down. AC condenser and radiator. I don't see anything wet along here. I think we're pretty good. Hope everyone had a great Christmas. I wish everyone a happy new year. Be safe out there. Hope you enjoy your Foxes if you're in an area where you can get them out and drive them. Just be careful. You never know what's going on with everybody around you out on the streets during the holidays. So keep them safe, keep yourselves safe, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye now.